Inside the Pylon, a Midwest college football podcast, joined as always by Clinton Boring. My name is Ryan Sadkoviak. This episode tonight is brought to you by Battle Bets. Reminder everyone to join our Battle Bets League. The bets for week 5 have gone live, and you can join now. Head to your browser, type in battlebets.app/ITP to join our league. And the big news this week is you no longer only need to be an iOS user to play the game. iOS only for the app, but you can head to their mobile website, play.battlebets.app, to join the game. Head our league, bet against us, prove that you're smarter than us. Because Clinton can play now too, because he's a square who has an Android. Clinton, how are you doing tonight?
Doing good, man. I'm excited to talk week 5, but I'm not excited to play my Dynasty playoff game after this. Not for playing the game, just I'd rather go to bed like you. But again, as we said last week, it feels crazy that week 5 is here. This is a pretty big week 5 just around college football, but especially in the Big Ten. We've been waiting and waiting for this Oregon Penn State game. Ohio State and Washington is interesting, at least if you're in the betting world. Indiana, Iowa, Battle of the Eyes round 2. USC, Illinois. Your Notre Dame fighting Irish at Arkansas in SEC country. So there's a lot of good stuff on to keep our eyes on this week, and I am ready to get it started. Ryan, how are you?
I'm going to tell you a story that I neglected to tell you pre-show because I wanted to catch your surprise live on air.
You're going to Notre Dame, Arkansas.
No,
Okay.
it's worse than that.
You're going to UCLA, Northwestern.
No, but it's actually worse than that. I could give you a million guesses and you would not guess what I'm about to tell you.
You shit your pants.
No, it's
Okay.
worse than that.
That's all I got.
I was awoken at 3:30 this morning by a rustling sound, a shaking sound, and I swear to God, I thought someone was breaking into our house. What it
And
was is a fucking raccoon clawed its way into our attic at 3:30 in the morning. I was so confused. I woke up because the dog woke up and she was stirring. I'm like, well, that's not good. I hear something. That sounds like it's coming from downstairs. That's not great. Wait a minute. That's not coming from upstairs. Why does it sound like something's in the gutter? So I'm half asleep. Put on my fucking lounge hoodie. I'm wearing nothing but my lounge hoodie and my underpants. I go downstairs. I got a softball bat in one hand, a switchblade in the other hand. I pull my 20,000 lumen flashlight off of the cabinet. This thing is so bright. I shit you not. It lights up our entire backyard.
oh my gosh.
It's a like it's like no bigger than my drink can. It lights up the entire backyard. So I walk out back and I'm looking up at the corner and it's like the corner of our roof, like right by where our bedroom window is, the like the under paneling where the top of the roof like comes over the siding is
Hmm.
caved in and there's a giant hole right behind it. This fucking raccoon scaled our gutters, climbed up to the top, kicked in our roof, and has now taken up residence in our attic.
Oh my God.
Apparently, when you call the pest people, they don't just get rid of it or kill it. They set a trap for it and wait for it to come out of the attic and go into the trap.
Oh no.
So this raccoon, confirmed raccoon, by the way, by the pest man who came up and looked at it, is currently sitting above our bed in the ceiling. And we just got to kind of wait for it to hopefully go out into the cage that the guy set on the roof right outside where the entrance point was. And he's like, yeah, if it, pretty sure it'll come out tonight. It's going to be pretty angry. It's going to be pretty loud. So no, Clint and I will not be sleeping tonight because there's going to, in all likelihood, be a screaming raccoon on my roof. Best case scenario. That's best case scenario. Worst case scenario is it doesn't come out and I got to play this fucking waiting game all weekend, waiting for this beastly rodent to come out of my roof.
And hopefully, it's not pissing and shitting too much in your attic while it's there.
Correct, because if it pisses and shits too much in the same spot, it's going to weaken the floorboard. And the guy's like, yeah, I've seen him come through the roof before. I kid you not, if this thing comes through the roof, I told Sam, I'm like, you are going to see a side of me that you cannot unsee because I will beat it to death with the baseball bat if it is in my house. We will
Wait,
need to get new carpet.
was she in the bed last night with you
Yep.
when that happened? Oh God,
Hmm.
what'd she do?
She's like, "Are you going downstairs?" I'm like, "Yeah, well, You're not going downstairs." And so I turned on. We have the the Alexa. So I just turned on the light. She's like, "Why'd you do that?" I'm like, "Why not?" She's like, "What if someone's down there?" I'm like, "Well, now they know I'm fucking coming for them." So
Oh
yeah,
God.
that's exciting. Not exciting whatsoever. Um, Shit's expensive too. He's like, "Yeah, it's gonna be like $1,300." I'm like, "You can."
Wow.
So the funny thing about this too is one of my coworkers over the weekend, his neighbor called the non-emergency police line because he lives in Canton, like was like one township over. He's like, they don't have
Hmm.
pest control, so they didn't. His neighbor had like a raccoon climb the privacy fence in his backyard and got stuck in the fence, like
Oh no.
wedged in. So they called the non-emergency police line, and a cop came out. And they're like trying to get this thing out of the fence, but it kept like snarling and like snapping at him. So the cop just pulled out his sidearm and shot the raccoon 4 times and killed it.
Well,
I was joking with him today. I'm like, "You got that guy's number? Maybe I should have just called the police to have them come up into my fucking attic and shoot this thing."
I feel like that would be highly frowned upon if something else found out about that. But
Well, that's what my dad said. He's like, "Why don't you just call your uncle to bring his shotgun and shoot it?" I'm like, "I think it's illegal to discharge a firearm in city limits." He's like, "You're in Michigan. No one cares." I'm like, "No, I am in the one down in Michigan where they would care."
yeah. And then your ass is grass. Oh my God. Well, I'm sorry, my friend. That is not a fun scenario. Hopefully,
Yeah.
the little thing comes out tonight, gets itself trapped, and then you guys can figure out how to fix your hole, I guess.
Well, the company that we called is going to do it, but it's like a 3-part process. They're like, "Yeah, we'll come pick up the raccoon, but then we got to lay another trap because we can't guarantee there's no more than one raccoon in there." I'm like, "I'm pretty sure there's only one raccoon in there. I literally heard it enter. Unless it brought its whole family with it, I think we're fine." But then they have to leave like the other trap up there for a couple of days, and if nothing comes, then they'll come and they'll like patch the hole up and shit. It's a whole
Wow.
process, and it's super
Better hope
annoying.
it doesn't have any babies up there.
Well, that was my other fear too. I'm like, I hope this is not a pregnant mother raccoon that was just like looking for a place to lay low, because otherwise I'm
She needs
going
to
to
have a
be
babies.
very, 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 very upset.
Well, what an interesting start to tonight's show. Following up on the battle bets and Clinton being able to join battle bets.
Yeah.
Poor Ryan.
Ryan is probably not going to sleep too much tonight.
Ugh, I'm sorry, man. Hey, at least you'll be up late on Saturday watching games and talking recap, and maybe we can get a live check-in with the raccoon.
I don't sleep anymore. So that's our fun. You ready to talk some games?
I am ready. Let's do it.
Are you ready? These are inside the pylons picks of the week.
I feel like saying the granddaddy of them all is frowned upon and potentially copyright infringement. But this first game we're going to talk about
This is
is
the grand happy of them all.
the grand happy of them all. 7:30 Saturday night, NBC, the whiteout game. Oregon at Penn State. The Lions, a 3.5-point favorite in this game, Clinton, which apparently surprised you because I don't know, it wasn't even a firestorm. I thought people were pretty in agreement with your tweet over the last couple of days that why is everyone so confident in Penn State winning this game? Because they have not shown the ability to do it, Clinton. And the only counter I have to that is, well, it doesn't happen until the first time it happens.
Well, the only thing is, it wouldn't be the first time it's happened. He's done it 4 times, but I think it's the fact that he is 4-20.
I was going to say
in
4
those
times
occasions.
in 24 games.
Yeah, pretty bad. And somebody tried to say, well, Dan Lanning. I'm like, Dan Lanning hasn't had 24 opportunities yet. And he has a
Right.
Big Ten championship.
He
And he beat
also-
Ohio State last
Also
year.
won a Big Ten title last year.
Yes, and was the number 1 seed in the opening playoff. Like, Penn State did
Oh,
not have either
no.
one of those.
I should have taken your over on Marv drops because that was horrendous.
Kyler Murray is also ass.
He's not very good.
I want Marvin Harrison out of there so quick. But yeah, he's got a dropsy problem. He has no confidence. Anyways, man, I this game is intriguing. I was talking with Kirk the other day, and he said he once applied to grad school at Penn State so that he could attend a whiteout.
That's pretty cool.
It's like, well, maybe Kirk, at some point when we take our trip to the whiteout, we will invite you and we will get you our whiteout at Penn State. That'd be pretty cool to do. But it's we'll get to our keys in a second, but it's such a great storyline of Oregon not only has to travel east, but they get their first true whiteout game. This is what feels like a true whiteout game, given that last year's whiteout game was on Peacock. I know it was Washington, but it wasn't even accessible to everybody in the country, and now we can. It's a battle of essentially people saying, can two coaches win the big game? I know Dan Lanning got the Big Ten championship, but there's still debate out there whether he can consistently do it. And then we're still looking for Penn State to beat a team of equal or better talent level. And you could argue Oregon is either equal or better in this scenario. Probably, I would say better, maybe, depending on positions of what you're looking
Yeah,
at.
I think like people are. I've seen a couple of comments that are like, well, technically Penn State's favored in this game. It's like, okay, that's entirely a home field advantage thing. If this was a neutral site game, this game is more or less a toss up.
Yep, absolutely. So, super exciting storyline. As you said earlier, maybe it was Monday, maybe it was last Saturday when we kind of talked about the upcoming week. But this is what the quad box was invented for. There's multiple 3:30 games we're going to want to check out. There's multiple 7:30 games we're going to want to have on. Of course, the nearest and dearest to our heart being Ohio State, Washington, Oregon, Penn State. But we will certainly have our eyes on Alabama and Georgia, as well as Ole Miss and LSU. And then you'll have Notre Dame and Arkansas as well.
That's a noon game.
That's a noon game? Okay, never mind.
That's a noon game.
I thought that was a 3:30. Indiana and Iowa is the other 3:30. There we go.
Listen, I love me a noon game when I'm not there because then it's over with and I don't have to sit there stressing about it all day and I can either be happy or can be mad
Rest.
the rest of the day.
You'll have like 9 hours or 8 hours before we get on the air to subdue yourself, I guess.
I'm not even like mad at this point. I'm just kind of over it.
I'm not
I'm
mad. I'm
resigned.
just disappointed.
I'm very disappointed. Not with this game though, man. I'm looking for keys of this game, man. I think the biggest one off the top, well, there's a lot of big ones in this game. A lot of, I don't know if it's just like long-standing storylines or old storylines or what have you, but I feel like we had a fair number of conversations at points last year about this Oregon run defense, and that's certainly been something that's been maybe not at the forefront this year, but you know, some of the discourse you see online, especially among Penn State fans, is this is a team that's run the football well, and Oregon is a team that hasn't necessarily been the best at stopping the run. They're not awful. It's not a sieve-like rush defense by any stretch of the imagination, but through the first month of the year, Oregon is 50th in the country with opponent rushing yards per game allowed, which I think is notable, Clinton, because Oregon has browbeaten every single team that they played. And you would expect that to be a situation where a team that's getting browbeaten is trying to throw the ball more to catch up. And maybe you can make an argument that Oregon just beaten teams so badly that you get to the second half and the opposing team's just like, well, fuck it, we're going to run our regular offense because we're not coming back in this game anyway. But 129 rush yards per game allowed, I believe, was the number. 129.7, again, 50th in the country. And again, not against the stringentest of competition. We were talking Northwestern and Oklahoma State and Oregon State and Montana State, which ironically, Montana State might be the best of the 7 teams that Oregon and Penn State have combined to play this year, which is kind of funny. So that's going to be something that I'm looking out for in this game. You know, Nick Singleton has not been as good, I think, as most expected this year. And Matt Flip talked about that with us a little bit on Monday's episode, that he's in a little bit of a funk, and they tried to get him out of it last game. I mean, 20 rushes against Villanova is kind of ridiculous if you think about it. But Katron Allen has been fantastic. And I think that's a guy that I am keying in on having a big game for Penn State. If they're going to win this game, they're going to need a big game from Katron Allen in the backfield. Second key I'm looking at in this game is this feels like maybe a seminal moment in Drew Allar's college career where he can either stamp his legacy as, is that saying the same word twice? Legacy as a legend. He can stamp his legacy at Penn State with a strong performance in this game. But if we see the same Drew Allar that we've seen, I mean, this year even, the same Drew Allar that we saw against Notre Dame in the playoff game, against Ohio State last year, at a certain point, it's just like, well, if the guy keeps showing us the same thing over and over again, eventually we got to start believing that's who he is.
Leopards don't change their spots, Ryan.
And I mean, the excuses are gone, man. I mean, we talked about it in the offseason. He didn't have receivers last year. I don't know how well that's holding up, given what Trey Wallace has done at Mississippi State, and I think I don't know that Omari Evans has been fantastic at Washington this year, but
He's also across from Denzel Boston, so
that helps for sure.
that's hard.
But, you know, there's my defense of Drew Allar in the past has been, well, this is a guy who was a green prospect coming out of high school. He might have been a 5-star, but that was more about the tools than about anything that he had shown as a quarterback, not just a thrower of the football. And, you know, he needed some time to grow into that, but here it is. It's your last year. It's your senior year. It's your third year as a starting quarterback. You have to show it. Like, you have to show the promise in a game like this. And if I'm titling this episode, Clinton, for Penn State, if not now, when? Because that's what this game feels like. And that's kind of my third big key to this game is what's going on between the headsets for James Franklin in this game. Because we've seen the mettle of Dan Lanning in big games. We've seen some of the ballsy calls that he has made. He got a rule change in midseason last year because of what he did in the Ohio State game. And it feels like I don't know if it's just like situational where the other team's making good plays or, you know, you get out coached or you make a stupid decision, but it's one of those things where the losses always seem to follow James Franklin in this situation, you know. 4-20 against top 10 teams. It's even worse against top 5 teams. 1-10, I think it is. Is this going to be the moment he finally starts to shed that moniker? Because I think what happens after this game is going to go a long way in shaping the discourse for the rest of the season. You just win this game. It does not matter how you do it. This isn't like the Drew Allar and James Franklin legacy are just linked at this point. Drew Allar can have a bad game, but if the defense steps up, the special teams step up, the running game steps up, and Penn State wins, doesn't matter. It does not matter. You just have to win this game because then everyone's talking about you for the rest of the season. Hey, man, this is a team that we all thought was going to be good this year. They brought a ton back. We thought that it was going to get over the hump. We had faith that even though some of the warts that they've shown in the past, we thought the experience would come through. And look at that. They played great or they didn't play great or however this game plays out, and they won. That's all that matters. This is a win that you'll be able to carry for the rest of the season. And short of just completely shitting your pants in the second half of the season, I think it will be a playoff clinching win for either of these teams. This is a win that's going to carry weight for the rest of the season. But if you're Penn State, you haven't looked particularly strong in 3 games against cupcakes to start the year. If you lose this game, you don't have the benefit of the doubt in the national discourse because everyone outside of your program already thinks you can't win the big game. They're looking at you. You're falling down the polls because you haven't looked great against garbage teams. And if you don't win this game, then people are going to say, well, you are who we thought you are, and we're just not going to pay attention to you because you've shown us what you do every year, and this is just more of the same. So I think, in terms of the discussion of who the pressure's on in this one, I mean, you can make an argument either way. I'm not going to sit here and say that Oregon's playing with house money by any stretch of the imagination because that's not the mentality that a program with Oregon is going to take into this game, and nor should they. But in terms of a national narrative perspective, if you're Penn State, man, everyone's looking at you and saying, if you can't do this now, how are you ever going to do it with this head coach? And there's a lot of weight that comes with that.
Absolutely. Do you have a third key?
Well, my third key is does James Franklin do James Franklin things?
Gotcha. Yes. Yeah, man, Franklin's kind of the key factor here. I did not list him as one of my keys, but certainly we see him numerous times make baffling calls. I can think back to my wedding day in 2018 when, I didn't get to watch the game until we got back from our honeymoon, but Franklin made this mind-boggling call to run the ball on 3rd and 8 against Ohio State, and they get tackled for a 2-yard loss by Chase Young with the game on the line. And you can't have that happen in this scenario. So I'm looking at key number 1 for me is trench play, Ryan. Through 3 games, the starting Penn State offensive line has given up 9 pressures. All 9 of those pressures has come from right tackle Nolan Rookie and left tackle Drew Shelton. Mateo Uiagalelei is one of the best pass rushers in the Big Ten, man, and the country. Sorry, the country, not just the Big Ten. He led the Big Ten in sacks in 2024, and he already has 3 in 2025. And Dale, if you're tuning in, and I noticed you retweeted our tweet there. If I botched this name, I'm sorry. Tatum Tuioti can also generate pressure as he's sitting there with 1.5 sacks on the season so far. So this is a battle of trench play. Whoever wins this matchup, I think, is going to have the fast track to the W. And this kind of leads into my second one here. Penn State's wide receivers, you got to make plays. We cannot just rely on a run game to win this matchup. Oregon's defense is only allowing 228 yards per game, and they're holding opposing quarterbacks, Ryan, to, again, I know their quarterback competition has been elite, but they're holding opposing quarterbacks to a measly 51% completion percentage.
Pretty good.
So that's what goes into this second key, right? Is if you're getting a ton of pressure, that's obviously going to drive Allar's completion percentage down. Now, to be kind of adjunct to the wide receivers here, of note, if you're looking at PFF quarterback passing grades, quarterbacks with a minimum of at least 50 dropbacks this season, Drew Allar ranks 85th in quarterback passing grades in college football. That is
good?
bad. That is not good when there's 136 teams. I guess maybe there could be less if somebody's had less than 50 dropbacks, but regardless, he's not even top 20. And this was a fun stat that I got off our good friends Ty Hildebrandt at the Solid Verbal today as I was checking out. To contrast Drew Allar, Dante Moore's top 10. Now, key number 3, we talked about this briefly with Matt and Dale on Monday night, is the Ducks matching up against a Jim Knowles defense round 3. Ducks got the better of them round 1. Knowles massively got the better of them round 2, absolutely stifling them in the Rose Bowl. Well, Jim Knowles doesn't have a Caleb Downs on his defense this year to kind of rotate around with safety, but Penn State's littered with talent on the defense, man, from DDS, Zakie Wheatley, King Mack, Tony Rojas, Sane Durant, you name it. They have talent at a ton of positions. So what does Will Stein do to attack this Jim Knowles defense, even though he's with a different team now, which feels kind of weird that they're having round 3 matchup, why he's on a different, he's called plays for a different team. And then how does Knowles decide to attack this Oregon offense when he has different players on this defense? So intriguing matchups here. You know, man, my pick is going the way it is because I look at Penn State, and you said the tweet I put out. What has Penn State done to prove to you that they deserve to have the advantage in this game? I'm going Oregon plus 3.5, and I think the Ducks win outright in Happy Valley, making it Sad Valley on Saturday night.
Clinton, I don't know if it's just a hunch or if it's indigestion or if it's the lack of sleep from getting woken up at 3:30 in the morning by a potentially rabid raccoon taking up residence in my attic. I'm just gonna say Penn State does it. I'm gonna take the Lions. I don't know, man. I have no basis for making this pick other than they are the home team, and it's got to happen eventually, right? Right?
It does, but are you going to keep making that Penn State pick? So if Penn State loses this one when they go to the Horseshoe at the end of October or early November, are you just going to say
if Penn State loses this game outright, we're spending an hour on the post game show, and every single Penn State fan is going to rage tweet us afterwards because I'm going to go off on Penn State.
You should, and then invite them to come along and hang out while we talk.
I will tell them, I'm like, Penn State fans, listen if you want to be angry at someone, because all the nonsensical jokes that I made about Penn State the first summer we did this show, they are all coming back, but they're coming back with vitriol. If Penn State loses this game, I do not want to hear about Penn State anymore.
No, I agree.
But if you do want to look for a reason for optimism, Penn State, one, it's the Penn State rush defense or offense against the Oregon rush defense. Also, I'm still a little worried that Oregon just does not seem to have a go-to guy either at running back or on the outside. Noah Whittington, it sounds like he will play in this game, and he's been as close to a go-to guy as they've had. But we watched him last year, and I was not super impressed, and he does look better this year.
Oregon has been holding Mekhi Hughes back.
Honestly,
starting this week, Ryan.
You don't know. I almost had to because I have nothing else, and you picked up Price, you dirty bastard. That would be insane. That would be just an insane long play by Dan Lanning if he held Mekhi Hughes out for this game and then just unleash them. That would be wild. But I don't. But both at the running back position and out wide. I mean, I think eventually Oregon's going to get burnt by this committee approach to both positions. I think that's going to be in this game. It's a very good Penn State defense. I'm looking for Denai Dennis Sutton to have a massive game in this one. I don't know. I'm probably
You
going to be wrong.
can't continue at some point. It's like a basketball lineup, right? If in the non-conference, you see a lot of coaches play like 10 guys. They go deep in the rotation, and then as you go into the season, you hammer that down to kind of like a trustful 7.
Yeah.
You can't keep running 10 different guys every single game.
No.
You have to find a guy that can get momentum and have a rhythm. And that's kind of where we're going to get into this next game that I've heard some interest about with Ohio State and Washington. But that's the same thing with Penn State. If Singleton's struggling and Allen is toting the rock, just feed the kid.
Yep. Go with a high hand.
That's what Ohio State did with Judkins and Henderson last year. And if they had big stretches, they stayed on the field.
Yep.
So you've got to do it in this game because you have the better backfield duo. I think, I don't know if you can say you have the better quarterback matchup. In terms of experience, you do, but quarterback-friendly offense, everybody in Oregon with Will Steins look pretty damn good.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you on that one. With you on that one.
Listen, man, I said it on Monday. I'm thrilled for the Ohio State-Washington game, but I hate rushing my weekend by, but damn, 7:45 or whenever this thing kicks off on Saturday night. Can't get here fast enough.
No, it's going to be fun. Let's talk about the other Pac-12 school playing football in a big game this weekend. 3:30 CBS, Ohio State at Washington. This line opened, it was either 14.5 or 13.5.
14.5.
And I think it's down to 7.5 now. So there's been some steam on Washington. And
you're leaving ours at 8.5?
Well, you wrote it in there at 8.5. So
okay, let's make it 7.5 since that's what it is.
No, well, you just want to get that extra point, you motherfucker. I see.
No,
your pick.
I looked at that on Monday. I didn't see you have the things written in, so I was trying to throw some numbers in.
This, like, I understand the drop because this is a really, really good Washington offense. I would also say it's a Washington offense that has not exactly been tested by a strong defense. So that is a little concerning. I think another concerning aspect of this game is if Ohio State is able to take away Denzel Boston, then are you just going to rely on the running game and hope that works? Or do you have another weapon that you can go to out wide in the pass game? So something interesting afoot there. And also, I know they pulled away late, but they were kind of in a dogfight with Washington State last week. So I was looking into some Washington defensive stats because I expected this to read like a horror novel, and it really, honestly, Clinton, wasn't as bad as I was expecting. Washington is 25th in yards per game allowed, and they're 29th in yards per play allowed. 44th in pass efficiency defense. I mean, the competition has been bad. Let's not beat around the bush there. But I mean, the way that, you and I at least have talked about this Washington defense, I think a little bit. I expected those numbers to be a fair amount worse than they were. So they really haven't been awful. But this is an entirely new challenge that they are going to face in this game.
Absolutely. Well, let's go back to what we talked about last year in those non-West Coast teams. Non-West Coast Big Ten teams are 3-13 since last season in regular season games in the Pacific time zone. So the record does not look pretty for Ohio State, and they were one of those losses on the West Coast last year. You know, Ryan, something's got to give in this game. Washington has converted 15 of 16 red zone attempts into touchdowns this season. Ohio State has yet to allow a red zone touchdown. So something's got to give. That's my first key of the game. Who's going to break? Key number 2, Ohio State's ability to contain Damon Williams. He is what we all hated about Madden. And people just scrambling around with Michael Vick everywhere and making some asinine play out of nothing. And that's what Damon Williams gives you. However, on the other side, Sonny Styles, and maybe more to affect Arvell Reese, they're going to have their eyes on Damon Williams, very similar to what they did with Parker Navarro and Arch Manning. And I get it. Neither one of them are Damon in their ability to break away with speed, their shiftiness, agility, whatever you want to call it. But Arvell Reese is an athletic marvel, man, and he is electrically fast. He'll have to take good pursuit angles if he's going to have to make a play on Damon. But we know Damon young quarterbacks under pressure, what do? 1-2, first read, second read gone, I'm going to run. In Washington, you're doing whatever you can to win this game. You don't have to stay perfect to a script or a game plan. You need to do whatever it takes to win the game. And if that's Damon Williams rushing for 150 yards and Jonah Coleman gets 50, but you win the game, it doesn't matter. So Ohio State, what you got to do is Damon Williams is going to get some runs, but you can't have him continually just breaking your heart and prolonging drives when you've got him in 2nd and 10 or 3rd and 8 and he breaks off a 20-yard run. So you have to limit those. Last piece here, the Washington defensive backs. It does sound like Dakario Davis is going to play in this game, although he won't be at 100%. But it's the Washington DBs versus the Ohio State pass game. Ohio State is likely going to have the training wheels off Julian Sain in this game, as Zach Charbonnet he scored a touchdown, and I needed it to be Kenneth Walker.
Same.
Anyways, the training wheels are off now. This isn't Texas week 1. So Washington is going to have to be ready, and they got kind of sliced and diced by a Washington State team pass game that's not that good. They're not running Jeremiah Smith. They're not running Carnell Tate, Max Clare, Brandon Ennis, Bryson Rogers. Good Lord. You name it, it comes out there. They're going to have to scheme their pass coverage to try to limit plays from Smith and let the other guys have at it. However, the last time somebody talked about how good another team's receiver was comparative to Jeremiah Smith that I can think of, Ryan, was the Rose Bowl. When everybody talked about how Oregon's wide receivers were so good and smoked Ohio State, Jeremiah Smith came out and made the statement of the playoff and just bashed Oregon. Now, again, that is relying on Julian Sain getting him the ball. But Washington is going to have to find a way to stop these guys. We've already seen Ohio State utilizing different ways to get the ball into Smith's hands this year. So it's a big challenge. They're going to need to stick with it to be able to win this game.
Kind of building off what you said, how do you deal with Damon Williams? Is it a spy? Is it more zone? Is it more contain? I think that this is a unique challenge that Ohio State has certainly not faced this year. And
2 weeks to prepare.
Yeah, I mean, but it's one thing to have 2 weeks to prepare. It's another thing to prepare for backyard football, which you can't really prepare for.
Absolutely.
And he's fast, man. Like, if you hit him, you can get a lick on him, and that would, I think, set the tone for this game. But that's a hard guy to hit square on. And I'm curious the way that Jed Fish kind of deploys that run game between him and Jonah Coleman, because I think they can do a lot of kooky, crazy stuff in this game. And you can't just sell out to stop that, because then Denzel Boston will beat you. So that's a very challenging offense to game plan for. And then I think the biggest thing in this one is just the environment. You know, we know the East-West stat from last year, but we're also talking about a Washington team, Clinton, that has won 22 straight games at home. They have not lost a home game.
22. It's 26.
Was it 26? Why did I count
26?
20? I counted 20. Damn, am I bad at math?
You are bad at math. I didn't count it, but I saw someone post it like
I must have missed
on ESPN.
I must have missed an entire season then. Shit.
26 straight.
The last loss I found was Washington State at the end of the 2021 season. I must have just missed an entire season then. That's embarrassing. So, yeah, that's a lot of consecutive wins at home. So something's got to give. When was the last time Ohio State lost to an unranked team? Was it Purdue? In
2017? 18, yes. Oh, here's another interesting stat before we make our pick. There have only been 2 number 1 teams, Ryan, that were on the road in the last 14 years against an unranked opponent that the spread was under 10. And this is one of the games.
That's crazy.
Most times, the number 1 team against an unranked opponent, it is a double-digit spread. And it has only happened twice in the last 14 years.
Yeah, this is one of those weird situations, though, where it's early season and maybe Washington's not getting as much respect as they should be. Because
or are they
haven't
getting
really
too
played
much?
anyone. I mean, they could, well, maybe. Potentially. I mean, it did start, it did open at 13 and a half, 14 and a half, and it got bet down. So something about those Vegas power ratings, like the Huskies in this one, that's not saying that they'll win outright, but I mean, if you got them at 14 and a half, good on you. But Clinton, I think I'm still going to take Washington to cover. I predicted Washington would win this game preseason.
You got to
and
stick to your guns,
Mama,
Brian.
Mama didn't raise no bitch, so we're just going to stick to it. I don't know that they'll win outright, but if you're going to give me a touchdown, I'm going to take it.
I think Ohio State wins by 2 scores, and I think that 2 scores is like 10-14. Buckeyes -7.5 for me.
Let's stay in the Big Ten, 12 o'clock on Fox. USC, a 6.5 point favorite at Illinois. Did you see Clinton Riley complaining today about having to play a noon game after playing an 8 o'clock Pacific time game last week?
Hold on. Soft. That's all I got for
It's good for him that they're actually winning this year, because all he's been known for otherwise is just being a whiny crybaby about things. It's like, brother, man, if you have a problem with it, you can be the change you want. Go to your AD's office and say, yes, I will forego 75% of my salary, and let's go back to the Pac-12 so we are playing a regional schedule. We're not having to play these wide range and disparity games.
Hey, wait, you want to hear one more thing that'll make you hate USC even more?
That's not possible.
Apparently, I was listening to 97.1 The Fan today. Information has come out that USC wanted this year's Notre Dame game to be neutral site.
No, I believe it.
Because they were working a side deal with Netflix to also stream the game, so USC could get the money just directly for that game. The Big Ten caught wind of it and said, to quote Lee Corso, "Not so fast, my friend. That's not happening." And shut it down.
Jesus Christ.
That's embarrassing.
It's just an embarrassing institution, Clinton.
My God. How pathetic is that?
There are some key injury questions in this game. It sounds like wide receiver Jacoby Lane and offensive tackle Elijah Page are questionable for USC. This was as of 24 hours ago. I did not check today to confirm that. Illinois defensive back Xavier Scott underwent surgery for an undisclosed leg injury, and he is expected to miss, quote, most of the season. Also questionable. I don't know if I haven't checked updates on these. Illinois defensive back Jaheim Clark has been out. Mac Restich left the last game against IU. I think they were down. They were down like almost their entire secondary against IU due to either injury or targeting. So even without Jacoby Lane, this is a USC pass offense that has been fantastic this season. They have the third best pass efficiency offense and the third best yards per attempt number in the country. So Clinton, can Illinois' rush, which only got to Fernando Mendoza twice last week, take advantage if Elijah Page is out or hampered in this game and get after Jaden Maeva? How is that secondary going to fare with injuries, even if Jacoby Lane can't go? We know Mekhi Lemon is fantastic, but not a lot of established weapons outside of your boy Lake Tate McRae at the tight end position. Key for Illinois in this one, you have to control the clock, man. Keep that USC offense off the field. Limit their explosive opportunities. Lean on the run game. It's still a USC team that they're better against the run. That's still not saying much because of where they were 2 years ago. It was absolutely horrendous. For USC, man, you just have to protect the football because Illinois is 105th in FBS in team pass efficiency defense, and they're missing Xavier Scott, so you should be able to pass on them. I think the key, like extraneously from like the actual on-field stuff, is just a weird body clock spot for USC playing a late game last week. You have a 9 o'clock a.m. body clock start here against Illinois. I don't know where I'm at on Illinois, man. I might just be full on out on them after what we saw from them last week.
You know, Dan Rubenstein has a famous saying, right? You're not who you are on your best day, and you're not who you are on your worst day. And that could easily have been Indiana best day and Illinois worst day. Illinois is back at home. I, too, had the knock up there, or in the little line up there to denote body clock for USC. I also had the injuries listed. Here's another factoid that really doesn't matter, relevant to the game, but in the betting world, Lincoln Riley is 3-10 against the spread as a road favorite while at USC.
That's crazy.
So we should pay attention to that maybe when we make this pick. I don't know. Now let's go back to Illinois. They were bled out by Indiana last week in the run game, giving up 312 yards after averaging, I believe, mid-70s in their first 3 games. How do they fare against a USC run game that's led by Eli Sanders and Wayman Junkyard Jordan, and then also Maeva contributing in the run game? The Trojans have looked really good so far, man, but depending on what you guys want to call Purdue, this is their first true road test of the season. We saw them go out to Maryland last year, choke it away in the fourth quarter. So will the Trojans stay hot like Ryan said, or could they potentially revert back to 2024, a la games against Michigan and then mentioned Maryland? Now, Ryan said if Elijah Page is out, can Illinois take advantage of that? Well, Ryan, in the first 3 games of the season this year for USC, they are one of the least blitzed teams in the country. So, does Brett Bielema then take his defense and try to attack to help protect his beat-up secondary to lessen the impact of the USC pass game? And will they get pressure on Maeva? We saw a ton of pressure from them, generating 5 turnovers against Duke. Didn't do a whole lot last week with Mendoza, I believe, other than the first drive when they pressured him. And that was it. USC, I don't think, this feels weird saying this, doesn't feel like they line up perfectly athlete for athlete with what Indiana has at this point. But they're pretty damn talented. So let's see what the Trojans have. For me in this one, man, if the game would have been closer last week, I think I'd have felt a little more comfortable with Illinois. But in this game, Lincoln Riley, you better not go 3-11. USC -6.5.
Yeah, I'm going to take USC as well. Not even that I'm fully all the way out on Illinois right now, but I just have very little confidence in that secondary. Maybe a little concerning that USC only scored 33 against Purdue, given that they could not stop Notre Dame for shit last week. But weird game, weather delay game, so who knows. But yeah, man, I'm now in the camp with Illinois. Like, you're going to have to show me something to get me back in on you. And maybe they do. It would not surprise me. Again, just talking about like situationally here, you kind of had your manhood questioned a little bit the way you got beat last week. Mm-hmm. You got a team coming from across country. This feels like it could be a good spot for Illinois, but just with what's going on in their secondary, I'm just going to say nope for me right now. Let's briefly leave the Big Ten, Clinton, and stay 12 o'clock ABC. Notre Dame, a 4.5-point favorite against Arkansas. The only note I have for this game, Clinton, is bet the over. It is 64.5, and it's going to go way over that because we are talking about a teams, plural. Notre Dame, 9th in the nation in yards per attempt, 13th in pass efficiency offense. Arkansas is 10th in yards per attempt and 31st in pass efficiency offense. Notre Dame 93rd, Arkansas 51st in pass efficiency defense. This is going to be a shootout. In addition to their poor-ish pass defense, Arkansas is 98th in the country, allowing almost 200 rush yards per game, 91st, allowing 4.7 yards per carry. Notre Dame is fresh off a 254-yard game on the ground against Purdue Clinton. This one, I got the willies just thinking about this game because this is going to be one of those games that's going to be fun to watch if it's not your team turning receivers loose in the secondary over and over and over again. And unfortunately, my team is probably going to be turning receivers loose in the secondary over and over and over again. Leonard Moore still listed as questionable. I'm not sure that he plays, which is not good news if you're Notre Dame because Taylor Green's been really, really good and your other defensive backs have been kind of shitty, to put it lightly.
I'm also with you. I am not on this game with the over. I expect Notre Dame's offense to score a ton of points, but what Notre Dame defense shows up? They have one of the worst pass defenses in the country. Can they limit Taylor Green? Every time I see his name, I'm going to call him Talon. Taylor Green. The way he moves around the field, he's kind of like a hawk. And then, oftentimes we don't do a lot of coverage of the SEC, but one thing that I feel like can easily remember from the past few years is that Arkansas often gets in their own way.
Yep.
And turns the ball over in opportune times or
Did
makes a big mistake that gives another team the win. Saw it against LSU a few years back. I think they had Alabama maybe on the ropes last year, and they pissed that one away. I know it was Texas. They had Texas on the ropes.
Did you see how they lost last week?
No.
They had the ball inside the 20-yard line, down by one.
With Memphis.
With like 2 minutes left, and they fumbled it.
Yes, I saw that. I watched that. So that leads me to my next point is, can you trust Arkansas to win a big game? Yeah, I don't know. Listen, back and forth on this. I am definitely taking the over, and I am taking Arkansas plus 4.5. But where I'm torn is who I really think is going to win this game. And I think at some point Arkansas is going to make a boneheaded play, and it's going to give Notre Dame the chance to win the game. They're going to have to go win it. I think it's close. I think maybe Notre Dame's trailing or it's tied, and they've got to go down and win the game. But I think Notre Dame wins. I don't know whatever happens, but Arkansas plus 4.5.
Yeah, I think with this game, it's going to be whoever makes the dumb mistake is going to lose, which, I mean, that's like football 101, no shit, Sherlock. But we've seen through 3 games that CJ Carr is good for pretty much one boneheaded turnover a game. So you kind of got to bake that into your expectations for the Notre Dame offense. If Arkansas can stay clean in this one, I like their chances to win. The issue is I think they're kind of a wounded animal right now, and that can go one of 2 ways. Either you come out motivated, inspired, and you take it to the other team early and you pull off an upset, or you go 3 and out twice to open the game while the other team scores twice real quick, and then all of a sudden the team just quits.
Yeah.
I think that might be what happens in this game. I think... And now that I spoke this into existence, I probably jinxed it, and it's not what's going to happen. I think this is going to be a game where we look at the end of the day, and people are going to be like, is Notre Dame back? I think they might blow Arkansas out in this one.
Certainly could happen. We'll see. You got to show up with some type of defense, man. Got to show up with some type of defense.
Yeah, and I have no confidence that's going to happen. I feel like Notre Dame should be an auto fade for me right now, but I'm just going to take Notre Dame to win. Why not? It's going to work for me eventually. Did I take him last week? I might have taken him last week. I don't fucking know. Let's go through
Notre Dame last week, and I had Notre Dame as lock of the week.
Oh, you see, I bet on Purdue plus 24.5. Stupid me. Clinton, is this the letdown game of the season so far? Indiana minus 7.5 at Iowa, 3:30 on the Peacock.
The cock!
Kinnick is where dreams go to die. Ohio, Indiana, one of those teams. Indiana looks like a machine right now, but good teams have come into this building and lost completely unexpectedly. Is that going to happen in this game? Probably not.
No. Again, as I said earlier, Battle of the Eyes week 2 for Indiana. Mendoza is now the Heisman favorite, Ryan. 14 TDs to 0 interceptions.
It's crazy.
Indiana also did not have a letdown game last year. If you watch Signetti with Indiana, they stepped on everybody's throat.
To be fair, they did not play anyone last year that would be worthy of having a letdown game against.
That means they had tons of chances to have a letdown opportunity, and they had none. Iowa doesn't have the offense to score with Indiana, man. It's just not there. I'm not buying the 38 against Rutgers. Rutgers doesn't play defense, and Indiana does. Mark Gronowski is probably going to have to run for his life in this game. Here's the one path, I guess I would say 2 paths that Iowa wins, but they're kind of conjoined together. Iowa defense has to force turnovers, and then Iowa wins the special teams battle. Because that's how Ferentz pulls upsets, man. I don't know if it's a fake field goal, if it's a clutch punt, if it's a punt return TD or big punt return that gives them a short field. They've got to play defense, and they've got to force turnovers if this game's going to be close. Ryan, get the sound ready. Indiana, minus 7.5, my lock of the week.
Lock of the week.
I'm not going to lock it up, and I'm going to take Indiana as well. I
think Indiana's going to whip Iowa's ass.
I just don't have faith in the Iowa offense right now. And, I mean, we saw Rutgers throw on Iowa a little bit too, and Indiana probably is one of the 2 or 3 teams in the Big Ten that actually has a better passing offense than Rutgers, which is kind of weird to say coming now that I'm hearing it out loud.
I have some fun stats about that one. So you must be locking up UCLA Northwestern later.
We'll see. We'll find out together here. Let's talk about Rutgers. I guess we're going back in time a little bit. 12 o'clock, Big Ten Network. The second Kaliak-Manis revenge game here. Rutgers at Minnesota. The Golden Gophers, a 4.5-point favorite. Some stats for you in this game, Clinton. I have not seen, actually, before we get to that, I have not seen an update on Darius Taylor. He did not play against Cal.
He is playing.
Is he?
He'll make his return this weekend. I read it at work today.
There you go. That is a big boon for Minnesota in this game. On the Rutgers side, Ethan Kaliak-Manis is 10th in the nation in passing yards, and he is 20th in yards per attempt. Ian Strong, 10th in the country in receiving yards. KJ Duff, 20th, and those two are tied for 16th in receptions. These are notable because so far this season, Clinton, Minnesota is 85th in the country in pass efficiency defense and 44th in yards per attempt allowed. That is not a good combo, and it's kind of strange because this is a Minnesota secondary that's been pretty good for a long period of time. But the other side of that coin is Darius Taylor coming back is great news for Minnesota because Rutgers defense is really, really bad. They are 76, in rush defense and 112th in yards per carry allowed. And that's big, Clinton, because outside Darius Taylor, the rush game for Minnesota has just been okay. I've been a bit surprised that A.J. Turner really has not had.
He's hurt.
Oh, did he get hurt? That makes more sense.
He's
then.
on my fantasy team.
Because he only had 4 carries against Cal. Freshman Fame Ajaboy. Did I say that right? There's a 0% chance I said that right. Led the team against Cal with 16 carries and 85 yards. So it seems like Minnesota just churns out these running backs because they do. But Darius Taylor being back would be a big boon. Drake Lindsey's been okay this year. I think he's actually been pretty good. I think PFF's 6th or 7th best rated passer.
He is 6th.
Lemeki Brockington really stepped up against Cal. He had 8 catches for 106 yards. This is just a fascinating game to me, Clinton, because it's kind of like strength on weakness on both sides of the ball. With that Rutgers pass offense going against the Minnesota pass defense and the Minnesota rush offense going against the Rutgers rush defense.
You mentioned the quarterback grades, and maybe I missed you saying this. Ethan Kaliak-Manis is the highest graded PFF quarterback. First, the minimum 50 dropbacks. Fantastic. Who would have thunk that? You know, I look at the Minnesota pass defense. Can they slow Rutgers' passing attack? You mentioned the stats for Minnesota's defense. Rutgers is putting up 304.8 yards per game passing this year, 41 points per game, and a total of 445 yards per game. On the contrary, Rutgers must play some defense. They just allowed 38 points to an anemic Iowa offense coming into this game. However, Minnesota off a bye, they have to bounce back from a loss to Cal. Can we trust them, given that they lost to Cal, and then Cal turned around and got shut out 34-0 to San Diego State University? Not quite promising. Minnesota's at home, correct?
Yes.
This is a tough one for me because we bought hard into Rutgers last year, and we paid the price. And Rutgers just played a Big Ten opponent again last week and kind of choked it away. But something just feels right with the Rutgers passing game right now. I'm going to go Rutgers with the points. Plus 4.5. Minnesota wins. Rutgers covers.
I think I'm going to go Rutgers with you, Clinton, because I just like the Rutgers pass offense a little bit more than the Minnesota rush offense right now. It's a legitimately good unit.
Well, now guess what happens? If Rutgers gets a few stops early and they go get up by 10 to 17 points, guess who's not running the ball anymore?
That's true.
Minnesota. They got to throw to win. And I'm not saying Lindsey can't do that, but if they can take away your best thing by getting you down double digits early, and then you can't do it anymore.
Now, the other side of that coin is if Minnesota establishes that run early and keeps the Rutgers offense off the field, shortens the game, then that certainly will play into Minnesota's hands here. But if you're going to give me bare minimum, I think it's going to be a close game. So give me 4.5, even if Minnesota wins by 3, then I will take that. Clinton, let's finish. I wish I put a sound in for this. I wish I had a sound for this one. I don't think I have a sound for this one that's even remotely.
It's just the sound of a garbage can.
Well, I don't get the rain man cold.
That's the toilet bowl.
That's what it. Well, Wisconsin's not in this one, so
that's true.
That might also be the toilet bowl.
3:30 Big Ten Network. UCLA looking for their first win of the year at Northwestern. The Wildcats are a 6.5 point favorite.
You don't have much to say, do you? Wait. Did you not lock one up yet? Oh my God, you're gonna.
Lock of the week.
UCLA covers the spread, Clinton. Call it the dead cat bounce. I have more faith in this game in Nico Iamaleava than I do in Preston Stone. The mistake by the lake gives us another mistake with UCLA winning their first game of the season. Bruins out right now. I don't know. I'll take 6.5, though.
You know, my biggest question for this game is why isn't this game on the cock instead of IU and Iowa?
Yeah,
But
I don't know. But
alas, here we are. It's all a money game. You know, UCLA, this is their first game back after firing Foster. Where is the mindset of this team? Is it still in the gutter? Have they risen up at all? And my God, can somebody on this offense, besides Nico Iamaleava, please step up? He's their leading rusher. He's their leading passer. Quasi Gilmer is their leading receiver, Ryan, but he's a whopping 174 yards through 3 games. That's 58 yards a game. You know, will the Northwestern offense just be turned to stone again? There's no Cam Porter for them to lean on. However, Caleb Komolafe will need to continue to step up like he did in their most recent game. He's also now the real leading rusher on the team. The Wildcats average 178 rushing yards per game, Ryan. You want to know what UCLA's defense allows rushing per game, Ryan?
a lot.
244 yards a game.
That's not great.
Dude, I read this 3 times to make sure I did not come on the air and make a fool of myself reading that stat. That is true. And then that is why I am taking Northwestern in this game to win this game.
I feel no confidence in any of my picks, which is how I end up not doing a lock of the week until the last game we picked.
That's okay.
This is where I'm at with my betting this year. I have no confidence in myself.
If this game were bigger than a touchdown, I don't think I'd take Northwestern because I don't know if they have the capacity to essentially beat someone by double digits, but I think they can win by 7. UCLA has just been so bad, man.
That's true.
So bad.
I'm playing the dead cat bounce here. It doesn't need to make sense. It doesn't need
Stone's
to make
just got to
sense.
not throw 5 interceptions, and they'll
Well,
be fine.
he has been really good at throwing 5 interceptions. All right. That is all for today. This is going to be a great weekend. We will be back with you guys on Saturday night at some point. We'll have to figure out when we're going to go live because I need to figure out when I'm getting home. Steve still hasn't texted me when they're getting into town yet, so I'll figure it out. But at some point Saturday night, we will be live with you guys after the whiteout game. I don't know. Is there a good late game on? Probably not. Whatever. Join the Battle Bets League. Listen to that at the top of the show. Picks lock at 12 o'clock on Saturday. You got your time. Prove that you're smarter than us. Follow us on the socials at ITPCFB. Follow us in the podcast feed at Inside the Pylon Midwest College Football Podcast. You know the drill. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the weekend. Hope you don't have any chores to do.
Deuces.